An increase in jobs and a boost to the economy may be in store for the people of Cuba now that the U.S. will normalize relations with the island nation. So how else might life change for Cuba's people? Michelle Caruso-Cabrera has more from Havana.
Every day, hundreds of Cubans line up at the American Interest section in Havana, applying for permission to go to the United States. Some to visit family, others seek better opportunities. Many Cubans are frustrated by the country's stagnant economy.
It's very complicated for me to work here because the only opportunities are here in Havana.
She says more people would want to stay if the changes announced this week by President Obama improve life on the island. Those changes include allowing U.S. residents to send more money to family remaining in Cuba and easing some travel restrictions between the two countries. Roughly 500,000 people traveled from the U.S. to Cuba last year under special licenses issued by the U.S. Treasury, which permit families, religious groups, and educational tours. This group of U.S. tourists was in Cuba the day of the historic announcement.
Every person we spoke to, the waiters, everybody says, oh, they light up. They're so happy. We're all fist bumping, shaking hands,
They want to
hugging.
hug and smiles from ear to ear.
Also under the changes, payment terms will be easier for the Cuban government, which bought from the U.S. last year more than $3 billion worth of food and medicine. Both are exempt from the embargo. Desperately needed telecom equipment will be easier for Cuba to import. But even with these changes, Cuba will remain one of the most isolated countries in the world.
This is one of the most mysterious institutions in Cuba, the central bank. We know very little about it because Cuba doesn't belong to any of the major international institutions like the IMF or the World Bank, so they don't have to report things like their reserves or any kind of statistics to anyone. One of the big questions is, how much do they have in reserves?
Cuba was a founding member of the International Monetary Fund, but abandoned it in the 60s at the behest of then-leader Fidel Castro, who seized all businesses and turned the island into a communist country where everyone had to work for the government. The current regime, led by Fidel's brother Raul, is undoing a very small part of the communist model, but it's still a long way from prosperity and freedom.
This is still a regime that represses its people. And as I said when I made the announcement, I don't anticipate overnight changes.
Hence why Cubans still line up to leave. Nightly Business Report, Michelle Caruso-Cabrera, Havana, Cuba.